Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a very special guest today here. We have Ryan Stewman. He's a successful entrepreneur and motivator, famous for his no-nonsense approach to business and personal development. He's CEO and founder of multiple well-known successful startup businesses. He's also a best-selling author and a popular public speaker known for his straight talk, candid advice on achieving success in both business and life. He's passionate about helping others reach their full potential and overcome obstacles to achieve their goals. Stewman is also an avid philanthropist and has donated his time and massive amounts of resources to various charitable causes. Ryan, so excited to have you here. What, to me, it's very interesting because you had so much struggle in your journey, and yet you find all the positives in nature. How is that possible? Because most people would sit there and go, no way, I can't do this. How do you keep pushing through and not letting the outside world bring you down?
It's a choice. It's a personal choice. I can be pissed off and choose to be a victim of my own. I mean, everything we do is up to us. There's no good or bad. There's just consequences of our actions. So I can be pissed off and say everything's bad, or I can take responsibility for things and choose that, you know what, it's not good or bad. It's just consequences from my actions, which is going to make me take better actions so that I got better consequences. Um, Most people go through life. I'll give you an example. When I first started helping mortgage officers, I was a mortgage officer. Then I started training other mortgage officers in 2010, 2012, that time period. I would get on a strategy session call with somebody and they'd be like, well, man, my shit just hasn't been the same since the subprime meltdown in 2008. I'm like, motherfucker, that's 4 years ago, bro. How the fuck are you a victim of an economic change 4 years ago? How is that even possible? I done went to prison, came out of prison, and fucking been successful again, and you're still dwelling in something from 4 years ago. Like, but that's how most people are. Like, one time they get punched in the face, and the rest of their life they talk about how they were abused. And I'm not like that. I'm like, shit, I got punched in the face. That action caused that consequence. I'm not going to take that action again. So how can I take actions to keep me from getting punched in the face, or punched in the face less often? Because life's always going to have something around a corner for you. But, you know, most people also don't think of things the way that I think. And for example, is like, you can say, oh, all these negative things happen to me, but maybe they were placed in your life to teach you a lesson. If I'm the guy that, for those that don't know me, I apologize. I'll try harder. If you're listening to this, you don't know who I am, but I've been adopted, divorced, been to prison, fucking prolific mistake maker. But now where I am in life, I look and I'm married with 4 kids, and I've got a level of success in my life. And I'm like, without those things happening to me, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm truly grateful those things happened to me, even though at the time they seemed absolutely horrible. I'm grateful that they happened because that's what turned me out to be the person I am today from the choices I made after those things happened.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The resilience when someone gets hit with something that can be so challenging, such as going to prison or a divorce or any of these things, getting robbed. I literally hear it every single day. And people, you're right, people sit in it. But to break through that is such an empowering frame because it allows us to be a better version of who we are. And the story is so much better when you're like, yeah, I did all of that and this,
Let
which is
let
cool.
me ask you a question. Do you ever went to a movie where the whole movie was just this positive experience, no drama, no setbacks, and been like, that was a fucking awesome movie? No, because they don't write books or make movies with shit like that because it's fucking boring. And most people, they dwell on the hard parts that they had in their life, but that's what makes good stories. That's what makes good movies. That's what makes good books. And so many people get caught up in the hard times, but the movies always go like this: shit's good, shit gets fucked up, dude works hard to get back everything that he had, happily ever after. That's how we're supposed to live life. That's the fucking template. But so many people start off with shit's good, shit gets hard. Oh, fuck it. I'm a quitter and I'm going to be a victim for the rest of my life. That's not a good story.
Yeah, 100%. And you don't even get to the good part of the story, which sucks.
Exactly.
Which sucks, which is challenging. So, I mean, for you, Ryan, what has allowed you to you've overcome all this adversity, and then what has allowed you to just not just sit in your zone. Because I know at 26, I believe you were a multimillionaire from the mortgage industry, did really well. And then you go and teach that? Like, how do you keep evolving yourself and not just getting stuck in the same area? Because there's so many of us who are like, oh, we're doing well, but now we're stuck here. Like, you have so many different businesses, so many different opportunities. How do you keep building?
Well, first, I got a beautiful wife and 4 kids, and that shit's expensive. You know, Uh, that's all the motivation I need, man. But second, this it always sounds like bullshit when you hear people say it. So hopefully you don't hear me say it and it sound like bullshit. But I figure God's got me on this planet for a reason. I figure I've been through all the things that I've been through for a reason and the struggles that I've been through so that I can resonate with more people. There's maybe the guy's story, like, I like Wes Watson, and he's got
Yeah.
the story of, like, I went to prison. That's his whole identity, is I used to be a prisoner. And he'll probably evolve from that at some point as he gets more, I've been there. He's kind of still a couple of years out. So, I remember being angry and aggressive and things like that too. I think he's got much more to offer. But then there's the guy that, like Cardone, for example, and he's like, I used to use drugs in my 20s, and that's great. And that, some people will resonate with Wes's prison story. Some people will resonate with Grant's I used to use drugs in my 20s story. But me, I've been through a bunch of shit. And I'm not saying I'm better than those guys. That's not what I'm saying here. It's like those guys can connect with somebody. I think the amount of shit that I've been through in my life, I can connect with more people because, it sucks to say this, but being a prolific mistake maker in the past has allowed somebody's like, man, well, he doesn't get me because, like Grant, we'll go back to him. It's like, well, he's never been divorced. He's been married to the same woman and blah, blah, blah. So he doesn't understand my situation, right? Whereas I've been divorced. So I understand that, So I feel like God put me through these different, really what would be construed by the masses as negative experiences, just so that I can have empathy and understanding and the ability to say fuck your excuses to people, because maybe they say, well, they don't resonate with Wes because they never been to prison, but maybe they had a health scare. It's like, dude, I got thrown from an ATV and broke my neck and was told I was never going to be able to walk again. So, all this fucked up shit that's happened to me has just allowed me to be a master connector and an empathizer for people, because I, most of the, outside of sexual abuse, I have been a victim, or not a victim, I have been involved in all of it. You know what I mean? And so it just allows me to really understand where somebody's coming from, understand the mentality of, maybe they feel bad for what happened, or they feel like a victim of what happened, or a negative situation. And maybe people can look at me as an example. It's like, surely somebody like Wes can go to prison and overcome that. Good for him. Somebody like Grant can beat a drug addiction and overcome that. Then there's somebody like me that can be like, this dude's been through fucking all of it other than being sexually abused, and still come out the other end of it. What the fuck excuses do I have left for my one thing that happened to me that one time in life?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it is so empowering seeing that because we understand empathy is super important to care about other people's perspective and others' opinions. But when you
It's not
sit
that
there,
I
yeah,
care. Let me just, it's not that I care for your excuses and victimhood. It's that I understand it, right? I
yeah,
don't care for it because I think it's bullshit, but I
yeah.
understand it. There's a big difference, right? It's not sympathy, like, oh, you poor thing. It's like, I get it, but it's time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, when did you start getting into the real estate space? I know you were doing mortgages, but when did you start seeing investing and start doing the watch collections, the cars, and all of that kind of stuff? Because when people are going into business, they usually are so focused on the accumulation of the assets that they kind of forget to invest in the business and build it up because it's both sides of it.
Well, so I made my first pretty close to 1 million in a year in 2005. So, like, there's a lot of guys on the internet these days that are new money and stuff like that. I've been doing pretty good for a long time, and almost 20 years now at this point. But in 2004, I started in the mortgage business. Prior to that, I worked at a car wash as a manager, and I got really good at doing mortgages. And one day, I'm at my house. It's like a Friday or a Saturday, and my TV is up on the stand on the wall. And I see an advertisement that says, come on down to Rich Dad, Poor Dad Real Estate and learn how to do real estate, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of people in that room that need a loan. So I'm going to go down there and meet these people. And I went down there, and everybody who bought the program, I gave them my business card. So they're walking out with a sack of DVDs. I give them my business card. A couple weeks later, one of those guys called me, and it was like 50 something places that he needed to refinance. And I was intrigued because I'd never met anybody with 50 pieces of real estate before. And so that guy kind of took me under his wing and taught me a whole lot about real estate investing. And within about a year, I owned 32 properties
Oh,
myself.
wow.
And look, they weren't, mansions. They were 40, 50, 60, maybe $90,000 homes. So it wasn't like, oh, I had this like badass, portfolio of mansions or McMansions or, brand new homes. I mean, they were rundown shitholes. But I rented them out, and some of them Section 8, some of them to regular tenants and stuff. And I got a knack for that. And then when I went to prison in 2007, I lost all that shit. I walked in a millionaire. 6 months later, I was divorced. My wife left me for the guy that mowed the yards of those 32 homes, and walked out with about $25 to my name and a ticket on a bus to a halfway house. And so lived in the halfway house. And one day at the halfway house, somebody had got a apartment brochure for a place in Dallas called the Mosaic. It was a brand new high rise. And I took the DART bus one day when I was supposed to be out job searching from the halfway house. I took the DART rail to downtown Dallas, and I went and I toured that place. And I told myself, okay, I didn't just get lucky before. I worked hard and I figured it out. And I want to live in a place like this. And so I'm going to get out here in a few weeks, and I'm going to go and I'm going to work my ass off again. And I'm going to go and I'm going to buy me a place like this. I'm going to rent me a place like this to live in. This is the life for me. I'm over this whole going to prison bullshit. And I've been to prison twice. Second time wasn't really a crime. It's some bullshit after the first time. The first time I was guilty of sin. So I go to this job interview, and this place is called Credit or Debt Solutions, one of the two. And man, this place looks like a dream job. It's 2008. The mortgage world's falling apart. I've been locked up in prison watching the news say mortgages were terrible. And I'm thinking, maybe I don't want to do mortgages. I need to try something else. So I go
Yeah.
up to this company and I apply. And on the application, I didn't check that I was a felon. So they bring me in for an interview, nailed the interview, get the job, telling my friends and family that weekend, hey, Monday I start this badass job. They got TVs in every cubicle. They got Red Bull in the refrigerator. It's going to be fucking awesome. Monday morning, I'm supposed to show up at 9. They called me about 7:30 in the morning. They're like, dude, we ran your background. You lied to us. You don't have a job. Fuck. So a couple more weeks go by, don't have a job. A friend of mine gets me on at a mortgage bank. Took me about 2 hours to convince them to take a two-time felon as a guy, but it was the largest mortgage bank in Texas. And 6 months after working there, I'm top producer. I would have been the top producer anywhere I went, like the credit
Yeah.
plays, the mortgage plays. I'm the top producer, and I'm doing what top producers do. It's about 9 o'clock at night one night, and I look up at the TV in the room where I'm getting some coffee, and I'm still filling out applications and shit with clients. And I see on the news there's helicopters surrounding that Credit Solutions building.
Oh,
And
wow.
the owners of that company were being raided by the feds for falsifying documents and everything else. And I thought to myself, God's got a funny way of working shit out, because I would have been the top producer there. They would have probably pinned that shit on me, and I'd have been going back to prison for the third time. And I only been out 6 fucking months. I'm still on parole. There's no way that wouldn't have been the situation that played out if I'd actually got that job. So, like famous Garth Brooks song, sometimes you thank God for unanswered prayers, man. But that's how
Yeah.
I do my life. Like, I could be like, oh, nobody give me a job. But I just give things time. And as I look back in time, I'm like, man, everything has worked out in my life for a reason in the right season, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an incredible story because when you start to think about it, you realize that there's so many of us who just sit in the pity. They sit in the
Yep.
pity, and it's just not good. It's not good. So for you, when did you start investing in like masterminds and creating masterminds and getting into these networks? And I know there's a big distinction between what you do and like all the stuff going on with social media because everyone's a lot of groups out there at this point.
Yeah, I started that. That's kind of my fault. I'm one of the trendsetters on the internet, and I started that. I've been doing masterminds and coaching stuff before that was a popular thing. We're talking 2010.
Oh,
But
wow.
so I told you in 2005, I go to this Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminar. I was like, man, that's cool shit. That guy on the fucking stage is a rock star. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that guy just, I don't know how many people bought this shit, but that guy's got to be rich, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't Robert Kiyosaki, it was one of his guys. And so there was a local place here in Dallas, I think it was called Radical Real Estate. And so once I got good and I owned a portfolio of homes and I was really top producer in the mortgage, they pulled me up and would have me tell my story on stage. And I had
Oh,
the ultimate story. Like, here's my GED, here's my, parole papers from prison. Then here's my last paycheck and a HUD from a house that I just flipped, and I'm a millionaire now. So I was like the poster boy for these seminars going around. And dude, I loved it, man, because I liked giving people loans and helping them get into their dream home or their first home or whatever it was. But dude, there was just a thrill that came from on that stage and telling my story and watching people be inspired and go, if that fucking idiot can do it, I can do it, and they didn't even pay me, bro. So it wasn't like I was making a bunch of money doing that. They were just like, I was just a 10-minute testimonial that came in
yeah.
there. But dude, I mean, some people be crying, some people be like, holy shit. It was like really, really an exhilarating feeling. And 2010, Congress passed something called the Dodd-Frank Act. And part of that was licenses went from state to federal. And since I was still on federal probation at the time, I couldn't get a license. And I thought to myself, it's like, man, you know what? I really like speaking on stage. I really like coaching the people that work for me. I'm going to start this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own industry. This didn't exist at the time. I'm literally like member number one of social media marketing. And so I started teaching mortgage guys how to get leads from Facebook. This is 2024 when we're recording this. It's pretty common knowledge. But in 2010, most people didn't know what the fuck Facebook was, right? It wasn't a mainstream thing, and it was thought to be a fad like MySpace. And it was a very hard sell, but I carved my own industry and my own lane that the government couldn't intervene. They couldn't take it away from me. It didn't require a license. And I just hammered down, man. And, my first event had 5 people, and I got that same feeling from those 5 people being on stage as I did when we had a room full of people at the real estate company and I was speaking for. And I did a bunch of free events and got some people results, and then people eventually started paying me. And now you look up 14 years later, and I've helped a lot of famous people become famous. I've helped a lot of people that had talent actually showcase that talent in front of the world. I've started the majority of the trends that we see on social media. And it's just been a huge blessing for me to be able to make that impact. But it all started with me watching an advertisement one Friday or Saturday at my house and going to that first seminar and being like, dude, I think I can be like that guy one day. And, most people be like, who am I? I've been to prison. I fucking, I used to
Yeah.
wash cars, like, but I was like, none of that defines who I am. That's just shit that I did. I think that I can use that story. Like, this guy's story was like, I was rich and then I wasn't rich and then I was rich again. I wasn't rich. My story was like, shit was fucked up and I became the hero of my own story. And, it's inspired a lot of people. I've had over 83,000 people buy products from me. I've had hundreds of thousands of people buy books and opt into funnels and stuff from me. And I've inspired, if you ask, some of those guys that you follow or that are big on social media, if you ask them like, hey man, who was the first person turned you on to this? They're going to say me. And a lot of them have gone on to be more famous. Some of them bought more followers than I did and that kind of shit. But, you know, I was 38 years old before I bought a Rolex. I was,
Oh, wow.
30, I was 38 before I bought an exotic car, and I've been a millionaire since I was 25. I was 40 before I bought a Rolex, actually. But, back in 2017, when I was showing off my McLaren and stuff on the internet, people didn't do that. Back in 2014, when I was dropping F-bombs on Facebook, people were like, you can't cuss on social media. I mean, I changed there was people like Cardone told me, hey, you can't just show up in a t-shirt with tattoos and stuff telling people you're going to help them. You got to put a suit on and all this shit. And turns out now he got the same haircut I got wearing a t-shirt trying to cuss and shit. You know what I mean? So I started a lot of the trends and was the trailblazer and taking the risks because I had nothing to lose, the trailblazer and taking the risk to do these things to see what worked, that's allowed now tens of millions of people to follow in my footsteps, man. And, you know, a lot of those tens of millions of people don't even know who the fuck I am, but they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
Wow. And I just want to say it's so incredible for anyone who's listening to realize that you can be that trailblazer. You can go create whatever you want in this planet. Because, like Ryan said, he's like, I started by seeing someone I was inspired by. I started to do the action. And then I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And then he starts helping people with social media, helping them with that. Like, it's not just, hey, I'm just a coach and I just stay in my lane, but I help out in all these different ways wherever a customer or client needs an opportunity, that you're there to fill it, which is super important because a lot of people get so stuck in their lane. Meanwhile, it seemed like you had a lot of opportunity there. So
You know,
how
I was on a sales call today, and the guy said, why are you on the call with me? I mean, you got all this shit going on. Why are you here? And I'm like, dude, I'm not like the rest of these guys. I'm not here to flex on you and act like I'm better than you. I'm not here to, you know, make you pay me money to talk to you and act like I got my shit all figured out. I'm one of you, man. I'm here so that I can help you. So let me help you, you know? And most of the people in my position, they think they're better. They you know, pay me $500, 5,000, $500,000 to get on the phone with me. All this stuff, man, is like, I truly want to help people, man, because I know what it's been like to be helpless. I know what it's like to not have the money and somebody be like, well, for, you know, $3,000 or $10,000, I'll help you, but I'm not doing shit for you unless you pay me. And I fucking hate those motherfuckers, man. I feel like I went through all the pain that I went through in my life so that I can be the guy to pour into people, whether they can afford to buy the shit that I sell or not. I still feel like there's a ripple. And here's what I also find is that they may not buy something from me today, but it goes on their dream board. You know what I mean? At some point, dude, that was the only guy that would take my call. That's the only guy that would get on Zoom with me. That's the only guy that would do my podcast. I need to, man, all these other guys wanted money. They fucking told me no. Cause I'll tell you a story, man. So I'm coming up in the game. 2014, 2016, I'm starting to get a little notoriety. Facebook marketing starting to catch on. People are starting to build agencies and funnels and all this shit starting to like kind of become sort of mainstream at that point. And, you know, I'm reaching out to guys like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and those guys, and they didn't fucking do anything for me. It was like, pay me or fuck off, right? Here we are, we're, you know, 10 years later, and I'm getting calls by people from their office talking about, hey, let's partner up, let, you know, promote this thing that we're doing. It's like, why the fuck would I promote? And I don't hate Tony or Grant. I don't have anything against them, but why the fuck, when I needed you, you weren't there for me. But now that I built something, you got your people reaching out to me trying to fucking move and sell shit for you. Get the fuck out of here, man. And I never want to be that motherfucker to the public. I never want to be that guy that's like, you need my help and I have the ability to give it to you. And I have enough financial success to where I can spare a little bit of my time. Fuck you, pay me. I never want to be that motherfucker. And it's actually my goal. And I don't have a dollar amount for this, but I'll figure it out when the time is right. That one day I'm just going to give all this shit away, including my time. If I was a guy like Tony Robbins, $6 billion a year, Grant Cardone, $6 billion empire, the last thing I'm going to be doing is charging people to come to a seminar and charging people to buy my fucking shit. I'm going to actually be like, I made it. Let me give it back to these people for free. I need the tax write off at $6 billion a year. Let me throw $1 million event and give it to the people for free. I got the extra time now that I got billions of dollars in my business. Let me build these courses and give them away to the public for free to make them better people. That's my job. And that's the next trail that I'm going to blaze in my life. Unlike these guys that have no limit to their greed, there's going to be no limit to the good that I can do on this planet at some point in the future.
Oh man, that's incredible. I love that because I guys, before I have the podcast, I always ask people three questions. And the first question is, what can I do in this podcast to make it the most impactful podcast? And very few people answer how Ryan did, where he's like, I'm here for you and I'm here for the audience. So I completely commend what you're saying because there's so many times where it is, hey, can you pay to play? And it's like, bro, I'm trying to help promote. And it's these different journeys, and I know exactly where you're from. So I appreciate it because I'm getting some of the assistance firsthand. So I know you run multiple businesses and you're doing a lot of different stuff. So then I know you have employees and stuff, but how do you allocate your time? because running multiple businesses can be challenging. How do you think about that?
Well, that's my fault again. I started that trend of, hey, let's invest and own a bunch of different shit. Terrible fucking idea, guys. Terrible idea. I'm in the point now where I'm selling off some of these businesses that I started just because there is a point where you get spread too thin. And I don't like business partners. I don't like investors. I don't like people to give me money. I don't like business partners taking my money. Nobody's going to be able to run at the speed that I run at. And so, I have software companies that I'm selling right now because I need to focus on the main two things that I do, lending money and helping people. And so it's, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, the trend was, oh, this person has all these businesses in their portfolio. Cody Sanchez is making that really popular today. And she's a great person. She was just speaking at one of our events. But I realize that's not for me. I don't want to be good at a few things. I want to be great at two things and then roll from there. And so I'm actually at a point now to where I'm minimizing the amount of companies that I own and the amount of things I have my hand in because I got spread way too thin. And honestly, the two things that I love suffered because, if I got a company where my average client is a payout of $10,000 and then I go start a software company where the average person's paying $50 a month for a subscription, then I got to take a lot of time to get $10,000 at $50 a month versus the things that I need to spend my time on that
Yeah, it's
maximizes
200.
my time and
It's
gain.
200. It's
And
200 clients to get the same thing. Like, it's a lot.
and so I'm really just focused on where I can make the biggest impact now. And that was a lesson that, like everything else, I had to learn and I had to go through and I had to have that experience. But I looked up one day and I went, man, I'm making good money, but I don't have any time. I'm not living the dream life that I got into business to live anymore. And I've got 50 fucking jobs instead of 50 companies. And I got 50 different things pulling me in 50 different directions. And I don't like this. I'm just going to go back to doing what I like the best and living the life that I designed as a business owner for myself. And I don't give a shit what's cool on the internet or what's not cool. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's what I got into being a business owner in the first place. We start a business so we can say, I don't want to work for anybody. I don't want a boss and I want time freedom. And I looked up and I'm like, I got 50 bosses. They're the managers of these companies and I got zero time freedom. This is the reverse exact opposite of what I got into business for. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate Ryan 'cause from where you're at, you've accomplished so much. And to be so vulnerable and be like, yep, I made a mistake. I'm adjusting. It's a great thing for me to see because I'm like, whoa, we all make mistakes. We can all improve. We can all do these things because a lot of people aren't so open and honest about that stuff.
I don't even know if it was
So
a
for you,
mistake as more as it was an experience that I didn't enjoy. And I just decided that it wasn't the route I wanted
yes,
to take. I learned a lot from it, gained a lot of wisdom, and I'm very appreciative for that. I just realized that life wasn't for me. I see my friends that, I'm having a conversation with one of my friends who everybody listening to this podcast knows who he is. And I got the privilege of, he's a billionaire, and I got the privilege of meeting him before he was super famous on the internet and all that. I've known him for a long time. And I'm 2022, we're hanging out and he spoke at one of my events and he's like, I got 3 more events I got to speak at today. And
my
he's getting on his private jet and blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me, make $90 million a year just in speaking gigs. And I thought, man, that was so cool. So I'm like, man, I want to do 3 speaking gigs in a day and shit like that. And I'm traveling all over the country, speaking on hundreds of stages and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I just want to be home with my kids, you know, like
it's
that ain't,
all a learning experience.
I just
It's
want to be
all
home with my kids. So sometimes we think we want something and then we go get it. And we're like, I've had 19 exotic cars, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royce, McLarens, all that shit. And, you know, I still have one, but I hardly ever drive it. Yesterday's probably the first time I drove it in a month because I was with my son. But it's like, I thought I wanted this big car collection and everything else, but then I'm constantly inspection stickers, registrations, oil change,
yes.
maintenance. And I'm like,
Yes.
this is a fucking full-time job for somebody. Now I got to pay somebody to drive a car that I bought to the fucking mechanic shop. This is fucking ridiculous. It ain't for me. So oftentimes we have this big grandiose dream of what we really want in life, and then we get it. And for me, like I have all these cars, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have a pickup truck and a fucking tractor. You know what I mean? And maybe 5 years from now, I'm like, tractors fucking suck too. They break down. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I'm willing
It
to go through these experiences to learn those lessons.
100%. And it's really the wealth of accumulation versus the wealth of selectivity. So like as we go, we want to accumulate everything, and then we start to realize, wait, there's only select things I really want to do here, which is super important. So for you, do you still have the watch? Are you still big in the watch collection, or is that something you're waning off too?
Yeah, I probably have 20 watches right now. I haven't bought a watch in 2 years. I've sold millions of dollars in watches, but look, let's just be real, man. These motherfuckers running our country fuck this whole place up. You used to could make money from crypto, social media, NFTs, watches, exotic cars, private jet charters,
Yeah.
luxury goods, all this shit. And about 2023, about 2 years ago, they were just like, fuck y'all. We're going to raise interest rates. We're going to fuck the economy up. Nobody's going to make money from any of this shit anymore. And it changed, and I'm the kind of guy that I'm not really a watch guy. I'm not really a car guy, if I'm just being honest. But
Yeah.
I looked at it as if I go buy a Lamborghini in 2018 to 2022, if I go buy a Lamborghini, drive it for 6 months, break even on it, maybe make a few $1,000s on it, then the person that's going to buy that Lamborghini from me is probably somebody I should be friends with, have as a client, something of that nature. If I
Of
can go
course.
sell a watch for $50,000, that person can probably afford to do some cool shit with me or whatever the case may be. So I really used them as ways to attract clients, get in the right network and the right circles and all that shit. But I got paid from those things. As soon as I stopped getting paid from them, I could give two fucks, bro. I just wear these watches because it's a habit at this moment, but they don't make a shit to me one way or another. You know what matters to
Okay.
me?
Okay.
This wedding ring is what matters to me, man. That's the only piece of jewelry. The only thing that I give two shits about is this wedding ring because that means something special to me as a husband and a father. The rest of this shit, if I got robbed, yeah, I'm gonna claim it on insurance. I probably never buy another one.
Wow. I actually just bought a wedding ring. I'm getting married in November, and I just got the wedding ring last weekend. So a
Man,
few days ago.
congratulations, dude. It last night, my wife and I were laying in bed, we're watching this TV show, Californication. And I never seen it before, so it was on Amazon. We started watching it, and there was a lady complaining about how marriage sucks, blah blah blah. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Being married to you is the greatest thing to ever happen to me. I don't see why people marry somebody they don't like. Like this is literally the greatest thing that has ever happened to me is having a wife." And a wife that loves me, that raises my kids, that's accepted me for all of my flaws. And because my wife, she's flawless. I'm a super flawed human, and she was like, babe, that's why I love you. That's why I'm your wife, because I know that you really mean that. And I wasn't trying to get laid. That was going to happen regardless. It's just one of those things where, I think that marriage, if you find the right person, it took me a few times to find the right person to marry, but if you find the right person, it's the biggest blessing in the world. I mean, God literally took the strongest part of our body, the rib, the bottom rib that protects a man's guts from war, from fighting, from all. You get punched in the stomach, it sucks. We used to have a guard down there, and he gave it to a woman, and they made us vulnerable in that area and her strong in her areas. And if you can find the right woman that will protect you because she took a piece of you, the original Eve took a piece of you, and you can find a woman that will protect you and you can protect her and she will love you. There is no greater gift on this planet.
Wow. Wow, I love that because that that's honestly been a very catering topic on in the world today, where you have the people that are like, no, have many women, no, get married, and it's like it's good to hear the positive nature of it, which is really a great thing.
I couldn't imagine sleeping with someone else, just being honest, because, I think married sex is the best sex because you know what each other likes. You've had plenty of
Yes.
practice. I've been with my wife 10 years. She knows what I like, what I don't like. I know what she likes, what she don't like. Um, B, strangers these days, man, people got diseases. People, some people got vaccinated. I don't know if that's good to mix and shit either. I'm not a scientist, but I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk. And so being on the single scene, man, I'd have to have a goddamn dating checklist, right? Have you been vaccinated? Do you have any STDs? Do you have a positive test? I mean, it would be
There's a
uh,
lot of variables. There's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
fucking
variables that.
variables, bro. I don't know that it's for me. You know what I mean?
No, no, not at all. Not
I
at
mean, I'm
all.
not gay. I see other women and I'm like, damn, she's hot. She got a nice ass or whatever the case may be. I'm not blind or not attracted to females, but I just couldn't imagine actually going through and doing that with somebody else, man, it's just not me, not the life I chose, and I wouldn't have got married if that would have been the life for me, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned that in 2023, life got a lot harder. I think everybody listening acknowledges that. What do you recommend that people should start doing if they're not doing, or what they could be doing to optimize for a better existence?
Well, I think life got harder for everybody if they're not in the trades. But I think I know I've been telling people since 2016, not because Trump was in office, just because the Obama set the economy up right. And I won't give a president credit. I'm just saying the Congress and the he was the leader, and the Congress and the president got some things right. They finally corrected what Bush had messed up towards the end of his term. And then Trump really put some gas on that fire and made things better. And I've been telling people since 2016, 2017, if you're not making money now, you're going to be fucked in the future. This is the golden age for people that are of working age right now. And if you're not making serious money right now, you are going to struggle in the near future. And everybody's like, oh, I'm going to make money regardless, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fucking interest rates are 3%, motherfucker. It's never going to be like this forever. I'm from the financial markets. I know what the trends are. And a lot of people piss their money away, me included. I piss some money away, but I'm also financially responsible. But a lot of people piss money away and they thought, oh, I got a good 3, 4, 2 year run. Then, and I just made my first $1 million, when everybody that was capable made $1 million during that time in their business, because people were like, take ecom, for example. We used to see ads on Instagram all the time. Buy this shirt, buy this cool
Yeah.
Nick, buy this. And you just like, oh, impulse buy, $50, $100, $300. And then now that shit's dead because people ain't got that money to spend, and they pissed it all off on a bunch of Louis Vuitton bags and shit like that back then. And so a lot of people caused this on themselves because they thought it would last forever, and nothing good lasts forever. That's just a fact, right? Like nothing
Yeah.
good comes and goes, but nothing great lasts forever unless you're working for it. And so right now we're in a season where people that are in the necessity business, you need an HVAC unit in your house, you're going to buy it regardless if you got money or not. You're going to figure it out. You need a roof on your house, you're going to buy it. Your toilet goes out, you're going to pay for that shit, whatever the fucking, necessities are in life. And all of the commodity shit, all of the luxury shit, it's kind of went away. I read an article the other day that said Dom Perignon is down like 60% in
Oh,
sales,
wow.
because fuck, first of all, we ain't got nothing to celebrate for right now in this country. And second of all, people aren't pissing their money away because they're not getting accidental EIDL and PPP and all this shit, right?
Free
So
money. Yeah.
here's what I do know, though. Everything anybody wants is on the other side of hard work. And even in a down economy, look, I did mortgages during the subprime boom. I did mortgages during the mortgage bust. I made money both times because I worked my ass off. And the better part was during the actual bust, because most people quit because they're bitch ass motherfuckers, and they quit when things get hard. So most people quit, and it opened up a whole new contact database for me that wasn't as much competitive area. And I was able to go in there and dominate even more. Most people, here's what they do. Oh, things are hard. I'm going to be a hermit. I'm going to stay in my shell and be an introvert and wait this out. Hopefully Trump gets elected. Hopefully Kamala gets elected, whatever their belief is. But the truth is, everything you want's on the other side of hard work. If you just don't stop working hard, the shit won't stop. We see people all the time. They get on a hot streak, and then they stop doing what they were doing to get on a
Yeah.
hot streak. They think, oh, I'm better than
Yes.
that, or I don't have to do that anymore. It's like, no, you can't ever take your foot off the gas. You can't ever take your foot off the gas. You have to. It's just like a car, man. You go 100 miles an hour. As soon as you take your foot off the gas, that bitch will slow back down to 40, 20, 10, and ultimately just kind of creep again eventually. You have to keep your foot on the gas and constantly have to do hard work. You can't be a victim to higher interest rates. You can't be. And look, there's evidence everywhere. There's some real estate agents right now bitching about, oh, I can't sell a house, there's no inventory. I talked to a guy yesterday, he does 500 transactions a year in California. Meanwhile, I
Wow.
talk to people in California that are like, oh, fuck, we can't do shit around here, blah, 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 everything's fucked up. It's like, no, there's always somebody working harder than you. So if you'll be the guy that's working harder, you're always going to be the guy that comes out on top. And good cycles go to bad cycles, but bad cycles turn to good cycles. So if you work even harder in the bad cycle, then when the good cycle comes back around, you'll be light years ahead of all the bitch ass motherfuckers that quit during the tough times.
Absolutely. And the best thing is, in my opinion, is you getting so many people's perspectives. Like it's so important for us. A lot of us just stay in our bubble and we're like, oh, that guy's a winner, that guy's a loser, that guy's whatever. Most people don't talk to enough people, which is one of the reasons I do the podcast. It forces me to hear about all these different people and these different perspectives, and that's valuable. You need that kind of stuff. So, what is joining a Facebook group or a mastermind or anything like? What are the values behind it? Because I run some coaching groups too, and like I just you see it. People show up better and they win more when they're around people who are winners.
Well, I think it was Jim Rohn that said you become who you hang with, and he may have said it a little bit more articulately than that. But I hung with drug dealers. I went to prison. I hung with bankers. I became a millionaire. I mean, so I've lived that. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that actually happen in my life. And you know, here's what I know. You want to get around people that make you want to be a better person. You want to get around people that want to level you up, that make you want to level up. And you know, people with flashy shit, it's cool, but they may not make you a better person. People who maybe don't have flashy shit, but they have they're good husband, good wife, good father, good mother. They might make you want to level up in different areas, but you need to have a little bit of all of that. You need to have somebody in your life that's a father figure. You need to have somebody in your life that's a coach and a mentor. You need to have somebody in your life that's an example of what's possible despite adversity. You need to have somebody in your life that can show you the way of how they did and they have the things that you want. And if you don't have that, good news is today you can get it from YouTube, Instagram, shit like that, right? You can't believe everything you see on there, but you can get it from there, or you can get in the room with those people. You can actually, like I showed up at that seminar and that guy inspired me and changed my whole entire life in 2005. I'm sure people come to my stuff all the time and they're like, dude, I can't believe Ryan shook my hand, took a picture with me, hung out with me. And to me, that's crazy because I'm like, what the fuck else are we going to do? We're supposed to be friends. You're here. You know what I mean?
No.
But you want to get around people that push you to be a better person, not just push you to make more money, but push you to be the greatest version of yourself. And if I didn't have those kind of people in my life, I definitely wouldn't be here. And I've had to search long and hard for them, a lot of times. And I thought, oh, all my friends will come with me. My friends will support me. And a lot of times your friends ends up hating on you. A lot of times you're in a situation as a business owner or something, and your friends don't understand that because they got a 9 to 5 job, or your family doesn't understand that because you're like me and you're the first entrepreneur in the history of your family. And so you got to get around people that get you. If not, you're going to get the shit that you got from the people that you're around.
Yeah, absolutely. And that point you brought up about friends and clients and everything, it's crazy, but clients will pay you exponentially more than a friend ever would because a friend's like, oh, like he's my buddy. He's supposed to hook it up. And those, you got to be careful of that. You got to find the right people to be around and you got to level yourself up and get around these people or create your own group. Or it's never been easier, like Ryan was saying, how there's podcast, listening to YouTube, doing all these different things. There's so much opportunity out there. Ryan, this has been absolutely incredible. Where can people learn more about you, learn more about Apex, learn about what you're doing? Where can people learn about that?
You can get to know me by following me on Instagram. I'm at Hardcore Closer. I'm the only, I got a blue check. I'm a verified account. The reason why I say that is there's lots of scammers out there. Don't fall for that shit. I'm never going to cold DM you and ask you to buy crypto. I don't sell that shit or Forex or any of that. Same on Facebook. I'm Ryan Stewman, blue check. I'm never going to DM you from another page and be like, this is my backup page. I don't got no fucking backup pages. I don't sell no bullshit. And I'm never just going to slide in your DMs with my hand out trying to get you to invest in something. There's a lot of that goes on, unfortunately, in copycat accounts from me. So if it ain't got a blue check on it, it ain't me. Same on Twitter. I'm Ryan Stewman, verified account. But, you know, I that's the best place. Just get to know me. You know what I mean? Follow my posts, see if you like me, if I'm your style. Maybe you like some of the stuff I said on here. I say shit like this often on social media. Just get to know me there, man. That's the best place. And if you decide you want to be a part of what I'm doing or whatever, you can slide in my DMs.
Absolutely.